Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something today that a lot of people learn the hard way. When a man ignores you, when he pulls away, when he stops showing up, the most powerful thing you can do isn't to chase him, call him, or beg for attention. The most powerful thing you can do is go quiet. And I'm not talking about the silent treatment to get a reaction. I'm talking about true silence, the kind that says, I'm not waiting for you to see my value anymore. Let me break it down for you in a way you'll never forget. See, there's a difference between silence and absence. You can be quiet and still be chasing a man with your thoughts, your energy, your emotions. But when you truly pull back, when you remove yourself from his life, that's when silence becomes powerful. That's when your absence begins to speak louder than your words ever did. A man doesn't start to feel the loss when you stop texting him. He starts to feel it when he starts wondering why you haven't texted. He doesn't feel the shift when you stop calling. He feels it when he notices that you used to call and now you don't. Silence by itself doesn't shake him, but your absence, the fact that your love, your energy, your laughter, your support, it's no longer around, that hits differently because now he's alone with his own thoughts. Now he's sitting in the echo of what used to be you. And let me tell you something. Men don't forget, women who know how to walk away without drama, a woman who doesn't cry, doesn't beg, doesn't argue, she just disappears from the places where she was once deeply present, that woman becomes unforgettable. Because your silence with distance becomes his reminder. A constant reminder of what he had. And when that silence isn't just about punishing him, but about protecting your peace, he starts seeing you in a whole different light. You don't even have to block him. Just stop reaching. You don't have to announce your exit. Just exit. Let him wonder. Let him sit in confusion. Let him try to fill the space you used to take up and realize he can't. Because the truth is, while you were being ignored, while he was pulling away, he thought you'd always be available. He thought you'd be right there whenever he decided to turn around. But when he finally looks back and sees nothing but space and silence, he gets hit with a reality he didn't expect. You were the one thing that was real. You were the one person who showed up. And now you're gone. And ladies, I know it's hard. I know every part of you wants to reach out to check in, to remind him that you still care. But the moment you do, you hand the power right back to him. Because a man who can ignore you once will feel comfortable doing it again. But a man who sees you walk away and never look back, he'll rethink everything. He'll replay every moment. He'll start to realize that he had something valuable and he let it slip through his fingers. You want a man to understand your worth? Don't try to prove it. Don't list your qualities like a resume. Just be gone. Be silent and absent. That's the kind of silence that gets under his skin. That's the kind of absence that lingers in his thoughts. When you stop being the one who texts first, who checks in, who tries to fix things, that's when he realizes he's lost something special. Let him experience life without your energy. Let him feel what it's like to be ignored. Let him get a taste of his own medicine. And while he's wondering where you went, what happened, why you disappeared, you'll be growing. You'll be glowing. You'll be becoming the woman who doesn't wait to be chosen. You'll be the woman who chooses herself. And here's what's wild. When he finally reaches out, when he sends that, hey, just thinking about you message, when he pops up like nothing happened, that's when you'll know. You'll know that your absence spoke louder than anything you could have said. And whether you take him back or not, you'll know that your silence wasn't empty. It was filled with the power of your absence. And that is when men always come back. When you stop giving a man your energy, he starts feeling the shift in ways he never expected. You were always the one reaching out, checking in, supporting him, loving him, louder than anyone else in his life. And the moment you decide to take all of that energy back, he's left with nothing but himself. He has to sit in the silence, sit in the emptiness that used to be filled with your attention, your time, your care. That's when things begin to change. That's when your absence becomes louder than your presence ever was. Because the truth is, some men don't recognize your value until it's not shining all over their lives anymore. See, people take what they're used to for granted. When you keep showing up, he stops noticing how much of yourself you're pouring into him. But when you stop, when you pull back, when you stop texting first, when you stop checking on him, when you stop trying to make things work, that silence becomes a mirror. Now he's forced to look at himself and realize he was never matching your energy. And the moment he realizes you're no longer giving him access to you like before, that's the moment he starts to see your worth. You don't need to beg a man to appreciate you. You don't need to convince someone to value your presence. You need to pull back. And not to manipulate him, but to protect your own peace. Because when a man is ignoring you, disrespecting your time, making you feel like an option, that's when you have to reclaim your power. And your power is your energy. That's what he was feeding on. He didn't even know how much of you he relied on until it's gone. Pulling back doesn't mean you're bitter. It means you're done overgiving. It means you've realized that your love is not going to be wasted on someone who doesn't recognize it. And the beautiful thing is, once you take that energy and start pouring it back into yourself, something inside you changes. You stop wondering if he misses you. You stop checking your phone. You stop caring about his next move. Because now your energy is going into your own healing, your own goals, your own life. But don't think for a second he's not noticing. He is. He starts to feel it when his phone doesn't light up with your name. He starts to notice it when he scrolls and doesn't see your likes, your messages, your presence. He starts to remember the way you used to be there, and he begins to question everything. Not because you told him anything, but because your silence and your absence did all the talking. It's in that space of distance that he starts to measure your worth. He replays the conversations, the times you were there for him, the way you made him feel. And suddenly he realizes you were rare. You were solid, you were consistent, and he took it for granted. Now he doesn't know how to get it back. Pulling back your energy is about putting the focus where it should have been all along, on you. Because when you give and give to someone who keeps ignoring you, you're teaching them that they don't have to do anything to keep you. But when you stop, when you finally walk away, when you finally choose silence over chasing, peace over explanation, That's when the game changes. You'll be surprised how many men only start fighting for you when they feel they've lost you. Not when you were crying, not when you were trying, but when you went quiet and chose yourself. That's when they come back, not because you said anything, but because your energy, your love, your care, it's not something they can replace. The moment you pull it all back, they have no choice but to face what they never fully appreciated. That's how he realizes your worth, not when you're giving, but when you stop. And that's when everything shifts. There comes a time when silence speaks louder than any words you could ever say. You can raise your voice, send long texts, pour out your emotions, trying to make someone understand how they hurt you, how they've been treating you, how much you've given. But it still doesn't change anything if they don't respect you. The truth is, the loudest statement you can make is not through shouting, crying, or trying to prove your worth. It's through self-respect. When you finally draw that line and say no more without explaining yourself, that's when people start paying attention. Self-respect doesn't look like making someone see your value. It looks like recognizing it yourself and walking away from anyone who doesn't. It's when you stop picking up the phone for someone who only calls when it's convenient for them. It's when you stop being available to someone who treats your presence like an option. It's when you stop explaining why you're hurt and instead choose peace. That right there shakes people, because now you're no longer entertaining disrespect. You're no longer showing up for someone who disappears whenever they feel like it. And you're not doing it with anger, you're doing it with silence. A lot of people confuse confrontation with strength, but real strength is being able to walk away without causing a scene. It's when you don't need to argue or prove your point anymore. Because when you know who you are, when you know what you deserve, you don't need to convince anyone to treat you right. You just remove yourself. That's real power. That's real maturity. That's real self-love. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is say absolutely nothing. Just stop showing up. Stop checking in. Stop explaining what they already know. Because deep down, they know how they treated you. They know they were distant. They know they didn't give you what you needed. You don't need to remind them. You just need to let your absence and your self-respect do the work. And don't be surprised when they come back acting like nothing happened, because that's what happens when people are used to your loyalty, your kindness, your forgiveness. But the moment you respect yourself enough to say, I'm done, that's when they realize they lost something real. That's when they realize they pushed away someone who was genuine. And the difference this time is you're not angry, you're not emotional, you're just done. Self-respect means not lowering your standards for temporary attention. It means choosing yourself every time someone makes you feel like you're not enough. It's choosing silence over begging, peace over pleasing, distance over drama. And the beautiful thing is, when you start living like that, you attract better, not just people, but better energy, better peace, better love. You're not hard to love. You're not asking for too much. You just finally respect yourself enough to stop settling. And when a man sees that you've stopped chasing, that you're no longer begging, that you've walked away with dignity and grace, it shakes his world, because he thought you would always be there. He thought he could come and go as he pleased. He didn't expect you to grow, to glow, to find your peace in his absence. And now he's watching you from a distance, realizing that no confrontation ever made him feel this way. But your silence, your decision to walk away with your head high, that's what got him thinking. That's what made him look back and see you for who you really were. And maybe now it's too late. Because self-respect isn't about revenge or proving someone wrong. It's about showing yourself that you're no longer willing to abandon your worth for someone who never saw it clearly. And that kind of energy, that kind of quiet strength, it changes everything. There's something powerful that happens when you finally stop running after someone who stopped running with you a long time ago. When you stop chasing a man who's been ignoring you, pulling away from you, or taking you for granted, everything starts to shift. It's like a light switch flips in his mind. He goes from feeling in control to suddenly wondering what happened. Because as long as you're chasing him, as long as you're trying to keep the connection alive, he doesn't have to do any thinking. You're doing all the work. You're keeping the bond intact. But when you stop, when you truly stop, that's when he starts thinking. A man doesn't feel the loss while he's being chased. He feels it when the chase ends, when the messages stop coming in, when the energy shifts, when the door that was always open is suddenly closed. That's when he pauses. That's when the silence gets loud. And trust me, it gets real loud in his head when he realizes you're no longer where he left you. That's when the memories start playing back. That's when the what ifs and regrets creep in. See, chasing tells him you're still emotionally available. Even if he's not giving you anything back, your effort reassures him that he still has you, that he can take his time, come and go, and you'll still be there. But the moment you stop texting first, stop showing up, stop initiating everything, that's the moment he starts questioning everything. Because now you're not feeding his ego anymore. Now he has to face the empty space where your energy used to be. And don't think he doesn't notice. He does. He notices when your name stops lighting up his screen. He notices when you stop reacting to his stories, when your attention disappears. He starts wondering why. He starts feeling a little unsettled because whether he admitted it or not, he got comfortable knowing you were always there. But you're not anymore, and that gets his attention. Now he has time to think about everything he didn't do. He thinks about the calls he didn't return, the messages he ignored, the plans he never followed through on. He starts thinking about how good you were to him, how patient, how loyal, how real you were, and how badly he mishandled that. All because he thought you'd never walk away. All because he assumed you'd keep chasing. When you stop chasing, you're not just taking away attention, you're taking away the comfort of being taken for granted. And that's when the tables turn. That's when he starts reaching. That's when he starts testing the waters. A like here, a hey stranger there. Just enough to see if you'll fall back in line. But the difference now is you've grown. You've realized that someone who needs to be chased is not someone who's ready to love you right, because love doesn't hide. It doesn't pull away. It doesn't wait for you to lose yourself just to keep it alive. And maybe he does come back. Maybe he finally says the things you wanted to hear all along. But now you're different. Now you see things clearer because the time you spent not chasing him gave you time to find yourself again, to rebuild your peace, to remember your worth. And you realize you never had to chase someone who truly wanted you, because the right one wouldn't let you feel ignored in the first place. So if you're wondering why he suddenly cares, why he's reaching out now, why he seems to be paying attention after all this time, it's because you stopped. You stopped chasing and he started thinking. And that's the power you had all along. When you finally detach from someone who once meant everything to you, it doesn't just affect your heart. It shakes their world too. A man might pretend he's fine when you start pulling back. He might act unbothered, unfazed, like your silence doesn't affect him. But that detachment, that shift in your energy, that sudden emotional distance, it starts doing something to him that your words never could. It makes him sit with his choices. It makes him wonder if he did the right thing walking away from a woman who gave him everything. See, as long as you're emotionally involved, he feels in control. He knows your buttons. He knows you'll respond when he pushes. But when you detach, not out of anger, not out of spite, but out of clarity, he can't read you anymore. He doesn't know what's going on in your mind, and that bothers him more than he'll ever admit. Because now you're not reacting, you're not chasing, you're not trying to explain your worth, you're not trying to fix what he broke. And that silence, that emotional separation, it forces him to look in the mirror. When you were emotionally invested, he knew you'd stay no matter how many times he let you down. He knew you'd be there through every unanswered message, every inconsistency, every cold shoulder. But once you stop showing up with your heart open, once your soul steps back and your peace becomes the priority, something clicks. He starts questioning everything he thought he knew. He starts asking himself why he let you slip through his hands so easily. And suddenly, all the reasons he thought he could live without you don't make sense anymore. Detachment isn't about pretending. It's about healing. It's about no longer giving energy to someone who didn't value it when you were at your most vulnerable. It's about choosing to stop explaining the same things over and over. It's about realizing that your emotions deserve to be protected, and if someone constantly plays with them, they don't deserve access to you. And the moment you reach that level of peace, the kind where you no longer care whether he texts, calls, or notices your silence, that's when he starts to care the most. He starts overthinking. He starts wondering if you've moved on. He checks your social media, watches your stories, but says nothing. He wants to know if you're still hurt, still waiting, still hoping, but you're not, because now your energy is focused on yourself. Now you're filling your own cup, pouring into your own dreams, building the life you once waited for him to build with you. And the beauty of detachment is that it doesn't make you cold. It makes you wise. A woman who detaches emotionally becomes a mystery. And not the kind of mystery that plays games, but the kind of mystery that commands respect. Because now your mood isn't tied to his actions. Your happiness doesn't depend on his words. Your day doesn't fall apart if he ignores you. You're no longer on that emotional roller coaster waiting for him to choose you. You've already chosen yourself. And that's when he starts second guessing everything. Was he too harsh? Did he judge too quickly? Did he misread your love as desperation instead of loyalty? Those questions start flooding in. But now it's not your job to answer them. He has to live with those doubts. He has to sit with that silence, because your detachment is a reflection of how far you've come and how little of yourself you're willing to lose for someone who couldn't see your value when it was standing right in front of him. Detachment makes him question everything because it shows him something he never expected. You're okay without him. And that, more than anything, is what makes him realize what he had and what he lost. There comes a point when you get tired, not just physically, but emotionally. You get tired of trying to explain your feelings to someone who's already decided not to understand you. You get tired of repeating yourself, hoping your words will finally reach their heart. But then something powerful happens. You stop. You stop needing to be heard. You stop needing to make sense of everything. You stop trying to make someone see the value of your love. And instead you choose peace, and in that moment you win. When you stop explaining, it's not because you don't care anymore. It's because you finally realize your peace matters more than their opinion. You understand that no matter how well you communicate, some people hear only what they want. And trying to get through to someone who's ignoring your truth is like screaming into the wind. So you stop screaming, you lower your voice, and eventually you go silent. Not because you gave up, but because you leveled up. Choosing peace over explanation is one of the hardest things you'll ever do, because it means walking away from the need to prove yourself. It means letting go of the idea that if you just say it one more time, he'll finally get it. You stop chasing clarity from someone who gave you confusion. You stop needing closure from someone who was never open, and somehow that silence becomes your healing. That stillness becomes your strength. A man can argue with your words. He can dismiss your pain, challenge your thoughts, and twist your intentions. But what he can't fight is your peace. When you go quiet, when you remove yourself without anger, without drama, without a final speech, that's what stays with him. That's what makes him sit with his own conscience. Because now you're not begging, you're not explaining, you're not justifying why you deserved better. You're just gone. And nothing hits harder than that. There's something unshakable about a woman who chooses peace. She's not desperate. She's not chasing validation. She's not in survival mode anymore. She's in her healing. She's in her power. She's no longer seeking approval from someone who couldn't see her worth in the first place. And that kind of woman, she's unforgettable because her absence speaks volumes. Her silence echoes louder than any argument. He starts thinking about all the times you tried to talk to him, all the moments you reached out, all the late night calls you made hoping for answers. And now there's nothing, no texts, no calls, no explanations, just peace. And it stings because now he has to deal with the weight of what he didn't do. Now he's left with the memory of a woman who gave him everything and left without a word. You don't have to justify your worth to anyone. You don't have to explain why you needed more, why you expected effort, why you wanted love that showed up and stayed consistent. If he didn't get it when you were pouring your heart out, he won't get it now that you've walked away. And that's okay, because you've chosen peace. And when peace becomes your priority, everything else becomes clear. He may come back. He may send that message. He may finally want to talk when it's too late. But by then, you've already found something better than his explanation. You found your freedom, your peace, your healing, and you'll look back and realize that you didn't lose anything. You gained yourself. That's the win. That's the glow up. That's the silent victory no one sees coming. The moment you stop explaining and start protecting your peace, you take back your power. And once you do that, there's no turning back.